The Grand Assembly Station was the heart of the galaxy's politics. It floated in space like a giant silver coin, circling a dying red star. Inside its halls, every important species of the Milky Way had gathered for the talks. Flags from distant worlds lined the walls. The air smelled faintly of strange perfumes and mechanical oils. The future of Earth was supposed to be decided here. Captain James Walker sat quietly at the long negotiation table. He wore a sharp black uniform with the emblem of Earth's United Colonies on his chest. Around him sat hundreds of alien delegates, some tall and thin like reeds, others with shimmering scales, some no bigger than a child. They all spoke in low, buzzing voices, their translators humming softly. James kept his hands folded neatly on the table. His face was calm, but inside he was tired. Years of talks had gone nowhere. Every meeting was the same praise for human achievements, followed by warnings about human aggression, instability, and unpredictability. He had heard it all before. Still he waited. At the front of the room, Chancellor Vorik, the lead representative of the Galactic Council, stood to speak. Vorik was a Zorinthian, tall, thin, with silver skin that caught the light. His eyes were sharp and cold. "Let us be honest," Vorik said, his voice echoing through the hall. "Human beings are gifted, yes, but gifts must be handled with care. Fire, too, can be beautiful, until it burns out of control." A low ripple of laughter moved through the room. Some delegates smiled politely. Others smirked openly. James felt a deep anger rise inside him, but he pushed it down. He knew this was not a real negotiation. It was a show, a performance meant to humiliate Earth once again. When Vorik finished speaking, James stood up. The room grew quiet. All eyes turned to him. He looked around the hall slowly, making sure everyone could see his face, see the calm strength in his eyes. "Earth came here seeking partnership," James said, his voice clear and strong. "We shared our knowledge, our inventions, our dreams. We asked for respect and equality." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But we will not beg," he said. "We will not be mocked. We will not be told. We are dangerous because we dare to dream bigger and move faster." James looked directly at Vorik. "If the Galactic Council cannot accept humanity with dignity," he said, "then humanity will leave, and we will find our own way." A heavy silence filled the room. Some aliens looked uncomfortable. A few whispered to each other. Vorik simply stared, his face unreadable. Without waiting for a reply, James turned and walked toward the door. The other human delegates, scientists, diplomats, military advisors, rose and followed him. Their footsteps echoed in the huge chamber. As James reached the door, he paused for just a moment. He looked back once, seeing the stunned faces behind him. Then he pressed a button on the wall. The great silver doors slid open with a hiss. Blinding light from the station's main corridor spilled in. James and his team stepped through, walking into the unknown. The doors closed with a deep final boom. Inside, the leaders of the galaxy sat frozen, uncertain, and though few would admit it, a little afraid. Earth had left the talks, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news spread faster than light. Humans had left the talks. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings watched the replay. They saw Captain James Walker standing tall, speaking calmly, and walking out without hesitation. Some alien news channels called it an act of pride. Others called it a declaration of war. But deep down, everyone knew something big had changed. On Earth, people filled the streets, watching giant screens mounted on skyscrapers. Cheers broke out in some cities. Others stood in silence, not sure if they should celebrate or worry. They had trusted Captain Walker to represent them, and he had made a bold choice. Back on the Grand Assembly Station, the council chamber was a mess. Delegates argued loudly, translators struggling to keep up. Some blamed Vorik for pushing too hard. Others said humans had shown their true nature by walking away. A few demanded an emergency vote to ban Earth from future negotiations. Chancellor Vorik sat still, his silver skin catching the bright lights. His face showed no emotion. Inside he was furious. He had wanted to humiliate Earth, to make them seem weak. Instead, they had left with their heads high, and the council looked divided and foolish. Vorik tapped a small device hidden in his sleeve. A message flashed on his private screen. Keep control. Humans will come crawling back. He allowed himself a thin smile. Let the humans sulk. The council didn't need them. Or so he thought. In the weeks that followed, quiet problems started to appear. First, trade slowed down. Earth had supplied advanced farming technology to dozens of outer worlds. Without new shipments, food production dropped. Crops failed. Prices rose. Then the starship manufacturing hubs in the Perseus Arm reported shortages. Human-made parts, small but critical, were missing. Ship repairs slowed. Merchant fleets grew smaller. Pirates saw their chance. Small fights broke out along trade routes. Skirmishes flared between rival colonies desperate for resources. Governors sent urgent messages to the council, asking for help. Inside private rooms, council members whispered, "We need Earth's engineers. We need their AIs. Without human tech, we're falling behind." But no one dared say it out loud in the assembly. To admit they needed humans would be to admit weakness, and pride still ruled the council. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain James Walker returned to his quiet life in New Geneva, a city on the green plains of Mars. He sat in his office, going through reports. Trade with alien worlds had stopped, but Earth's own economy was adapting fast. New alliances were forming between human colonies. Shipyards on Luna and Titan were busier than ever. Earth was learning to stand alone, and maybe even grow stronger because of it. James looked out the window at the red Martian sky. He knew the galaxy hadn't seen the last of humanity, and he knew the council's problems were just beginning. Somewhere out there, fear was spreading. Fear that without humans the great galactic order would fall apart. James smiled faintly. He could wait. Time was on humanity's side. At first, the council pretended everything was fine. Official statements were made. The absence of Earth will not affect galactic stability. Fursick announced at a press conference, the council's strength lies in its unity, not in any one species. But outside the polished halls of the Grand Assembly, the real galaxy was beginning to break. On the farming worlds of Sector 9, fields turned brown under alien suns. Earth's advanced seed hybrids, the ones that grew in poor soils and thin atmospheres, were no longer arriving. Farmers tried using older seeds, but the harvests were poor. Hunger spread fast. On the mining colonies near the black holes of NGC 1300, machines broke down. Human-designed processors, once so reliable, now needed repairs no one could provide. Ships carrying precious minerals stayed docked. Prices soared. Pirates grew bold. In the dark lanes between stars, they attacked cargo ships and stole whatever they could. Without Earth's patrol fleets helping maintain order, the Council's security forces struggled to keep up. A few planets started building private armies for protection. The cracks were widening. Inside the Council, the mood shifted from arrogance to panic. Meetings dragged late into the night. Delegates argued bitterly. Old alliances weakened. Some representatives blamed each other for failing to keep Earth in the fold. Others secretly began sending messages to human colonies, asking quietly for trade and help. Fursick still stood firm. Humans will return, he told his supporters. They need us more than we need them. But deep down, even Vorik could see the truth. The Council was losing control. On Earth, things were different. Factories on the Moon worked day and night. Colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan strengthened their trade routes with each other. Without the Council's restrictions, human inventors moved fast, creating new technologies to solve their problems. Captain James Walker received daily reports from the United Colonies Council, Earth's new central government. The reports were mostly good. Energy production had increased. Food shortages were rare, Military fleets were growing stronger and faster than ever. Humanity was not collapsing. It was rising. James knew the Council would not admit defeat easily. But every day, their need for Earth grew stronger. And every day, Earth grew less willing to return. Meanwhile, on a distant mining station, a small fight between two desperate factions turned deadly. Shots were fired. Explosions ripped through the cargo bays. By the time help arrived, the station was lost, and 100 lives with it. It was a small event in the vast galaxy, but it was only the beginning. The Grand Assembly Station, once a symbol of order, was starting to crack. Inside the tall, shining halls, delegates moved with hurried steps. Meetings were shorter now, and angrier. Old friends avoided each other. New alliances formed in quiet corners. The whispers grew louder every day. The Council is weak. The Council is broken. Chancellor Vorik still stood in the center of it all, acting as if nothing had changed. He made long speeches about stability and strength, but fewer and fewer delegates stayed to listen. In private, Vorik's own advisors warned him. Systems are leaving Council control, one said. Pirates are raiding the outer rings, said another. Vorik silenced them all. We will recover, he said coldly. Order will return. But order was already slipping away. Across the galaxy, small rebellions sparked like dry leaves catching fire. On the trade world of Verdanus, workers marched in protest. They demanded protection from pirates and food for their families. When the Council's guards tried to stop them, fights broke out. Buildings burned. The governor called for help, but no ships came. On the science colony of Utrix 4, researchers refused to send their work to the Council. We will no longer serve leaders who let their people starve, their leader announced on public channels. Other planets watched closely. Some cheered. Others prepared to join them. The idea was spreading. Maybe they didn't need the Council after all. Maybe the Council was the problem. In secret meetings, young alien leaders began to talk of change. They were tired of the old ways, tired of bowing to Vorik and his promises that never came true. Some whispered about a new council, one built on fairness. Some even suggested reaching out to Earth directly. Captain James Walker's name came up often in these talks. He stood when no one else dared, they said. He walked away from their insults. To many, James was no longer just a diplomat. He was a symbol of pride and strength. Meanwhile, on Earth, James watched it all unfold through his intelligence reports. He sat in a simple room, surrounded by data screens. Images flashed by. Protests, fires, secret meetings. Council ships failing to respond to calls for help. James leaned back in his chair, thinking the Council was falling apart faster than he had predicted. But he knew better than to act too soon. He would wait until the right moment, when they were ready to listen, truly listen. He would speak. Until then, he watched and waited, patient and steady as a stone. Because this time humanity would return only on its own terms. The Council could no longer hide its weakness. Food riots spread to more worlds. Trade convoys refused to leave their ports. The great peace that had lasted for centuries was crumbling, and everyone knew it. Finally, one by one, the envoys started arriving on Earth. The first ship came from the Sirens, a peaceful species known for their rich farms. Their ambassador, a short being with shimmering green skin, landed at the New Geneva spaceport. He carried a message simple and clear. We ask for Earth's help. Please reconsider your decision. More followed. The Varric sent a delegation from their icy mining colonies. The Olari, master builders of the ring worlds, sent envoys begging for human engineers. They all said the same thing in different ways. We need you. The galaxy needs you. At first, Captain James Walker met them politely but firmly. We warned the Council, he said. We offered friendship and were mocked. The envoys bowed their heads. They offered trade deals, technology, promises of respect. James listened, but he made no promises. He knew Earth was strong now. Humans had survived without the Council. They had built their own networks, their own alliances. Earth was no longer desperate for a seat at someone else's table. If humanity returned to the galaxy, it would be on their own terms, or not at all. Meanwhile, back on the Grand Assembly Station, the Council was falling apart. Chancellor Vorik faced angry demands from every corner. "You lied to us," shouted the governor of Vexa Prime. "You said Earth was weak. You said we would not need them." Vorik, for the first time, had no answer. An emergency vote was called. It passed quickly. Vorik was removed from power. He left the assembly in silence, his silver robes dragging across the floor like fallen banners. In his place, a new leadership council was formed, younger, more open-minded. They spoke clearly: "We must build a new future, one where all are treated as equals, including Earth." It was a moment of true change. An official message was sent to Earth. "We humbly invite the United Colonies of Earth to return. We offer a new charter. Equal voice, equal voice, true partnership." The message was simple. The meaning was clear. The galaxy was no longer demanding. The galaxy was asking, and Earth held the answer. Captain James Walker sat at a long table in New Geneva's government center. Around him sat the leaders of Earth's United Colonies, admirals, scientists, diplomats. The mood was calm but serious. The offer from the Galactic Council lay open before them. It promised everything Earth had once asked for: equal voting rights, full access to Council programs, respect and recognition. But James knew promises were not enough. Not after everything humanity had been through. He tapped his fingers lightly on the table. "If we go back," James said, "we go back stronger. We go back as equals. No more begging, no more insults." The room agreed. Humanity had earned its place with blood, work, and patience. James stood up and prepared a reply. Simple, but unbreakable. When the new council envoys arrived, James greeted them personally. They were younger, less arrogant than the ones who had come before. They listened carefully as he spoke. "Earth accepts the invitation," James said, "but under conditions." He listed them clearly. Earth would have a permanent seat on the High Council. Human colonies would be protected under galactic law. No species would be labeled unstable or unworthy ever again without proof and fair hearing. The envoys nodded and took notes. They knew Earth was no longer a junior partner. Earth was now a power in its own right. Behind closed doors, some old council members grumbled. "Why should we give them so much?" one muttered. But most knew the truth. The galaxy had barely survived without Earth. Without humanity's energy, creativity, and drive, everything had started to fall apart. Better to have the humans inside the council, strong, respected, and loyal, than risk them building a rival power outside. James watched the reactions carefully. He wasn't looking for applause. He was looking for sincerity. Trust had to be rebuilt, brick by brick. After 2 days of talks, the council agreed to every condition. Earth would return. But this time, not as the desperate outsider. This time, as a leader. Before the envoys left, one of them, a young Olari woman with shimmering eyes, turned to James. "We hope," she said quietly, "this is the start of something better." James nodded. "It will be," he said, "but only if everyone remembers what brought us here. The mistakes, the pride, the need for respect. He would not let the galaxy forget." The Grand Assembly Station looked different now. The halls were still grand, the flags still waved, but the feeling had changed. There was less arrogance in the air, less cold formality. Delegates spoke in low, serious voices. They knew today was important. Captain James Walker stood once again at the entrance to the great negotiation hall. He wore the same black uniform, but this time, the atmosphere around him was different. This time, they were waiting for him. As he walked down the long aisle, every head turned to watch. Some delegates nodded in respect. Others looked uncertain, even guilty. But none laughed. None mocked. James reached the front of the hall and stood at the speaker's podium. His gaze swept across the room. Across hundreds of worlds, thousands of species, all had come to see humanity's return. He spoke clearly, without anger, without pride. Earth left because we were treated unfairly. James began, we returned because we believe the future is built by those who refuse to stay silent. He paused, letting the words settle. We offer our strength, our ideas, and our friendship. Not because we are desperate, not because we seek favor, but because true partnership is built on respect. Across the hall, many nodded. James continued. This galaxy is vast. No one species can hold it alone. We survive together, or we fall divided. The simple truth echoed in the great chamber. There was no cheering, no loud applause, only a deep, powerful silence. The silence of real understanding. James stepped down from the podium. The council's new leaders approached and shook his hand. It was not a ceremony of rulers welcoming a subject. It was equals welcoming an equal. Later that evening, James stood by one of the giant windows of the station. Beyond the glass, the stars stretched endless and bright. Earth had claimed its place among them, not by force, not by surrender, by standing firm, by walking away when dignity demanded it, and by returning with their head held high. A soft voice spoke behind him. Captain Walker, said the young Olari envoy, smiling warmly. Welcome back. James smiled too, a rare and genuine smile. Thank you, he said. It's good to be home. The galaxy was different now, and humanity's future among the stars had only just begun.